wife, I'm not saying you have to conquer your wife. You shouldn't have to do that anyway. But if you have a friend in your wife, let me tell you, you can take the world for Jesus Christ. So tonight we're going to start a new study, the laws of the harvest. Tonight we're going to start off with the law of God out of Galatians 6. So the Bible is written in ideas that were in modern time frame, and you have to begin to understand that when they wrote the Bible, it was a horticulture or horticulture generation. They were farmers. So one of the things about farmers is you get an immediate results for what you do. If you water your crops are going to grow. If you don't water your crops are going to die. It's almost an immediate, and you would take that into the consequences today. If you do right, you're going to flourish. If you do wrong, you're going to suffer the consequences. So this is why Jesus Christ used horticulture for this reason, because they were farmers. So he began to dictate to them how easy it is. So in your generation, how would you identify this generation? You would have to use some kind of put on the one that says the law of God. Oh, you know what? I haven't. Thank you for helping Gabe out there. Being supportive to the kids. So, it says, oh, one, the law of God. So one of the things you find in the law of God is we don't serve in law no more. Back in the Old Testament, it was by law. In law, you state if you broke the law, what happened? You go to jail. Serena's really good. By her house, they're always setting up, right there on a mountain in Francis, they're always setting up those, what do you call them? The DUI checkpoints. Gabe, you put the wrong one on. So, in that, you have a checkpoint. What happens if you evade a checkpoint? You ever see anybody do that? I've seen it multiple times where someone tries to make a U-turn at the last minute, and there's so many cops just waiting for someone to make a U-turn, and they're on you. They have the motorcycles, and they're quick. So there's two sides of what we're talking about tonight. We're going to talk about reaping and sowing. What you reap is what you're going to sow. You're not going to sow roses and get an apple out of it, an apple tree. You're not going to, and whatever you sow, whatever you do, whatever you put out of your life is what you're going to get back out of it. And if I can get your attention, please come Sunday morning. I'm going to preach a breakthrough sermon. God was dealing with me the last couple of days, so I'm going to preach something that's going to help you break through. I ordered a light, so it's on its way. So, let's read tonight. Galatians 6, 7, and 8. Ignore the flash. Oh, read this one.
Okay.
Because this is from the Living Bible, please.
Don't be misled. Don't be misled. Remember that you can't ignore God and get away with it. A man will always reap just the kind of crop he sows. If he sows to please his own wrong desires, he will be planting seeds of evil, and he will surely reap a harvest of spiritual decay and death. But if he plants the good things of the spirits, he will reap the everlasting life that the Holy Spirit gives him.
Talking again, here's there's two sides of every coin. God doesn't just want to come and say, you know what, if you do wrong, you're going to be punished. God gives you an example simply as we read here. He gives you two. Basically, he's giving you an insight into the future. He's telling you, listen, if you plant bad seeds, you're going to reap bad consequences. But if you, now I want you to understand this. If you plant bad seeds, what does it say? If a man will always reap the kind of crop that he sows, but if he sows of his own desires, wrong desires, he will be planting seeds of evil, and he will surely reap the harvest of spiritual decay and death. See, this is your results of your doing wrong. I want you to see that. If you sow wrong, you're going to reap the consequences. I was just reading an article of a mother. She sent her son off to college. Now, how many of you want your kids to go to college? So she sends her kid to college, right? He failed the first semester. Why did he fail the first semester? Because he didn't go to college. He stayed home and played video games. So he failed college. So the mom says there's a problem with the boys playing video games, and there's a problem with the little girls on social media. So she posts up a poster certain places by the gates, and she says, if anybody's having problem with their son playing video games, or if you're having problems with your daughter on social media, I'm going to have a meeting right here at this part of the campus. Meet me here Monday morning. 156 parents were there. They says, I can't get my kids in college. We paid for them to get them. We paid their tuition. They're in the dormitories living there. He says, it's costing me a fortune. And your kid's not even going to class because he's on video games. You can send someone out. I want you to see the second part. If you do bad, you're going to reap bad. But I want you to look at the good part of this. But if he plants the good things of the Spirit, listen to what it says. If he plants the good things of the Spirit, he will reap everlasting life. In other words, if you do good, you're going to reap good. And then look what else it says. That the Holy Spirit gives him. You plant good, you're going to get good. But the additional part of that is God's going to throw in the extra blessing. If I did good in life, that would have been great, but God has blessed us over the years of the things that we've done. And this is like an added ingredient. If you do bad, you're going to reap bad. If you don't go to work, it's amazing that people, and I'm not going to pick on you, but I'm going to bring some life things in this. People go to work, why? Why do people go to work?
To make money.
For money. What happens if you're late to work?
You get fired.
You get fired. Then why do you come late to church? Because we can just toss God aside and say, God, you're not as important as my job. Because if you failed your work, if you did your work like you did church, you'd be fired the first week. Basically, we're telling God, you're not as important to me as my job. That's being real. Why am I early? I've had a fascination of life. You can call it whatever you want. I have to be on time. It's just one of those things in life. I with very, very, very young age of life, I didn't know how to be late. I didn't know how to be undressed. I always came dressed. I always came ready. They always make fun of me. They say, you wear those big fat ties. No, I'm a man. Men wear ties. I don't try to wear a little boy tie. I wear a man tie because I'm a man. So this is what I do. And this is what this is the things that I've done. Why? I don't come dressed up for me. I come dressed up because I'm coming to present myself before a living God. That's why I come dressed up. I want to come and I'm not going to come to God, and if you're not dressed up, that's fine. But I'm talking about personally. When I come to church, I come to honor myself as an offering before my God. And I want to be the best, presented the best, because the Bible calls us the bride. And he's the bridegroom. Why do I'm the bride? So if I want to be a pretty bride. You're not going to show up to your wedding in sweats, I hope. But you want to show up and you want to be presentable. People spend a lot of money. You ever looked that up? You ever looked up how much money people spend on their wedding days? They go get their hair done. They go get their makeup done. They got their fingers, their feet. You spend time because you want to be presentable. Why? Because you're going to get married. You're going to marry someone. The same facet to God. You present yourself to God. You want to be presentable. If you're not presentable, what does it do? It doesn't do anything but to you. If you came to your wedding in sweatpants, ponytail in the back, shot glass, If you came on your wedding day like that, what would your husband expect for the rest of the day? If your husband came like that, I'm not here to just pick on ladies. If your husband came like that, and then he says, hey, we're married now. We're one flesh. I quit my job. You make good money. Let's just live off your pay. I'm going to take a vacation. How you present yourself is a credible amount to what you are on the inside. Jesus here is talking about, first thing I want to talk about tonight is wrong mentality. Previous generations were often based on farming, agriculture society. One benefit of this is they got a daily visual reminder of consequences. In my front yard, I had some planter areas, I poured some concrete, and I had some palm trees. And my wife says, oh, I don't want that no more. So I got the concrete, we broke them out, and I went and got some seed, and I put some seed and I planted it. Obviously, I got the wrong bag of seed. I got a little bag of seed, I don't want to get a lot. It's only like a little 3x5 area. I bought the wrong kind of grass. Actually, it's not winter grass or whatever it is, because it died. Now I got this big old unicorn in my front yard on both sides. You just totally, it's dead. And the rest of my grass is beautifully green. There's two dead spots. Why? Because I planted wrong. I planted bad seed because I tried to go cheap. I tried to save some money. Instead of buying the right grass, I bought cheap grass. And the consequence of that was what? I have two dead spots. Why am I saying that? Because it's a mindset. When you come cheap, you get cheap. When you don't take time to give it your very best, you can't be mad if it doesn't come out the best way that you wanted it to. When you don't give your best, you're not going to get your best back. Remember what it says, when you sow bad, you're going to get back bad. If you sow good, you get back good, plus you get the blessing of God for doing good. I want you to understand that if you do God, if you do right, you get the blessing of doing right plus the blessing of God as an addition. You have to understand it. Everything you do in life, you have to give it your best shot. When you do something a second time, I tell people, when you do it your second time, outdo the way you did it the first time. There should always be a challenge to do better. So, the consequence of that is, in the horticulture area, if you see the consequence daily, if you're not watering, if you're not pruning, if you're not taking care of, you're going to have a bad crop. We've lost connections with reality. If you don't water your grass, it's going to die. Same concept with our lifestyles. If we don't do good, we're not going to reap good. If you're not giving it your best or your very best, and I'm not talking about your best might be at a different level from somebody else's best. There's a competition at my job for who's the best operator. And this guy's always, he always wants to be in competition with everybody. And we always tell him, he says, just go at your pace. Because if you try to go at another person's pace, you're not there yet. And it keeps breaking stuff. It keeps pulling stuff out of the ground. Because he wants to be better, he wants to be faster. Everybody has a different level. You have to know yours. Because you can't perform at my level. You can't perform at someone else's level. You have to perform at yours. God is only going to account you for what you can do. He's not going to say, well, how long have you been in church? How long have you been doing this? He's not going to judge you by that. Because every person is uniquely created. And God is going to judge you at your ability. But you have to do the best at your level where you're at. And that's what God looks at. Question to ask, that has to be asked, is what do you think is going to happen? There was a cop that was at a shooting at an elementary school. His name was Scott. It says a young man dressed up as a character in a book of camouflage and fatigues, carrying a gun, walking around campus. Officer begged him to drop the gun. He raised it. He was shot dead by the cops. When later the officer arrived on scenes, the other officers arrived on the scene, other students would ask, when is he going to get up? The officer said, he's not going to get up, he's dead. He said, I know he's, but when is he going to get up? These are elementary kids. I know he's laying on the floor, but when is he going to get up? Years ago, when TV wasn't as bad as it is now, they used to have kids that used to hang themselves. They would go in the closets and they would hang themselves. And the thing is, they would do that because they thought the guy did it in the character in TV. And then later on, he came back into the show. And they found out kids were writing notes and saying, hey, I'm going to hang myself and then I'll be back later. They didn't understand the consequence. They were little, they were watching this on TV. They says, hey, he says, this is what people do. One of the things you have to take notes of in life, reality. Reality is, give it your best shot. We've lost the sight of connections between our decisions and our actions and the resulting consequences. Decisions are critical. We always say in the kingdom that your life is paved by the decisions you make. It's going to put the paving stones in your life. You're not going to go where you pray for, you're going to go where you speak. Where you say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. If you'll do it, that's going to benefit your life. Serena, let's read Joshua 7, 8, and 12.
Lord, what am I to do now that Israel has fled from her enemies? For when the Canaanites and the other nearby nations hear about it, they will surround us and attack us and wipe us out. And then what will happen to the honor of your great name? But the Lord said to Joshua, get off your face. Israel has sinned and disobeyed my commandment and has taken loot when I said it was not to be taken. And they have not only taken it, they have lied about it and have hidden it among their belongings. That is why the people of Israel are being defeated. That is why the men are running from their enemies, for they are cursed. I will not stay with you any longer unless you completely rid yourselves of this sin.
Rid is to do away with. So here is talking about, here is Joshua, basically he's the pastor. And it says, we went to war, God told him to go to war. They went to war, and he says, we lost the battle. And he goes to God and he says, what happened? And he's telling God, what's going to happen if we lose the battle? Then everybody's going to find out, and our enemies are going to come and attack us. And he's telling God, why did you send us to war if we were going to lose the battle? I mean, you ever pray and say, God, I need a breakthrough? And God said, I'm not only not going to give you a breakthrough, I'm going to curse your life. And that's not what God does. So here he's coming back and he says, God, why did you tell us to do this? And then it just fell apart. And he says, wait a minute, Joshua. The reason why it fell apart is because you're stealing stuff. Your people have stolen stuff. They hid it among themselves, and they're lying to you about it. And you're like, well, that's obvious. If you steal something, one of my times I went to jail, I got caught with something that wasn't mine, and I didn't know it was stolen. Someone told me it was theirs. It was a car. So I'm driving this car and I get caught in it, and for the next couple of years I get charged with an attempted murder. I get charged with a stolen car, and I can pick up all these cases. And I'm asking myself, what you told me it was your car? And here I'm fighting a charge for the next couple of months, and I'm going to court, I'm going to trial, and I'm trying to get a plea bargain. I finally took a plea bargain for 5 years, and they're trying to give me 25. And I thought I did good by taking the 5 years. And that turns out I didn't even do it. But I got caught with the evidence. So it's hard to fight something where you got the evidence. See, you can tell God knows all things, sees all things. God knows your mind, and He knows your thoughts, and He knows your heart. You can come to God and say, God, I'm doing my best, and I'm trying my hardest. How come you won't bless me? And God would look at you, and God would say, are you really doing your best and trying your hardest? And you're going to say, yes, God, I'm doing my best and I'm trying my hardest. Why won't you help me? And then God turns around and says, okay, I know you. I created you. I know your thoughts. I know your intentions. You want to do this again? Are you doing your best? Are you trying your best? Are you giving it your all? Okay, God, I'm not. I mean, think about it. If you're doing your best and you're trying your best, and God's going to say, listen, you're not doing your best because I know you can do better. And God was to remind you, listen, when you woke up this morning, why did you hit the snooze 3 times? Anybody do that? I can't do it. It drives me insane. The minute I wake up, my wife gets up and she jumps out of the bed, and the alarm goes off, and it goes off at 4:15. And in 25 minutes, I'm in my car leaving. It's like I have a routine. And if I hit snooze, then what is it? What does it come on? 5-10 minutes later? Whatever it is. I've never hit a snooze in my life. Because my alarm is not close enough to hit my snooze. It's over there on my dresser. So you couldn't hit snooze if you wanted to. You have to get up to hit the snooze button. By then, it's like you want to go back to bed. If you're doing your best, it's going to show. Now, where does doing your best come from? That's the question. Where does doing your best come from?
Your heart.
From your heart. But where does it come from?
Desire.
Desire. Where does desire come from? Where does it come from? Doing your best, where does that come from? Where does doing your best come from? What does it take to make you do your best? Gail?
Practice.
Practice. Actually, very good answer. Very good. Because you have to practice at being good. And when you practice at being good, take that snooze button off. Take it off. Just take it off. Set 2 alarms on each side of the room. Because what you're talking about, a mentality. You're talking about a mentality. Who's winning this? Whose life are we? I'm hitting the snooze button. What am I doing to myself? Why did I set the alarm? We're going to say 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock in the morning. Why did I set the alarm at 7 o'clock when I didn't really want to get up till 7:20? I know I don't have to be up till 7:20, but I'm going to set it at 7. Now, why would I set it at 7, knowing that I got 20 minutes to play with? It's a mentality. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. You're actually defeating yourself by hitting the snooze button. Because you're telling yourself, hey, I can play with this. I can play with this. If I'm late to church, I can play with it. But it's a mindset. You're telling yourself, I have time to play with. Let me tell you, you only get one life. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to be my age. That's going to really kill you. I think when I was 20, I was 30, then I was 40, and then I turned 50, and I'm like, where'd it go? Where did it go? And you think, you just turned 50 and forgot where your life went. I forgot where it went. It came and went that fast. It came and went, and it's a mentality. How can I quicken myself? How can I ask God to quicken me when my mentality is telling me I have 20 minutes to play with? You're actually quickening yourself by telling yourself, first time, okay, I hit snooze button, I played for 10 minutes. Okay, next time I don't get that. Next time I hit snooze, get up. Why? Because you're teaching yourself obedience. You're teaching yourself obedience that says, listen, this is my life. Put it in perspective. This is what I was made for. This is what God gave me. How can some people wake up in the morning? I have a boss. He's a little bit older than me. And he wakes up 2 hours early and goes to the gym. And we have to be at the yard at 5 o'clock. And he goes to the gym before work. That's crazy. I'm up at 4 o'clock just to get there, and you think this guy gets up extra early. Why? Because he trains, he conditions himself. Why do some people, that's why he's my big boss. That's why he runs the whole division, because it's a mentality. If you want to be good, then you got to be good. Does that make sense? Who read? Senya. Proverbs 12 and 11.
He who works his land will have abundant food, but he who chases fantasies lacks judgment.
Does that make sense? When the Bible talks about food, it talks about money, it talks about produce. So you got to remember what it's talking about. We're going back to horticulture area. Listen to what he's talking about. Jesus uses this, and he says, he who works the land will have abundant food. He's talking to farmers. You got to understand, he's talking to a farmer. But he says, he who chases a fantasy lacks judgment. What does that mean? He who chases fantasies lacks judgment. In other words, why? Because his mentality is, I got all day to do this. I got all day. If I don't water, the rain's going to come. We've had a rainy winter. So you ask yourself, he who works the land has abundant food. How many of you like money? Let me tell you, serving God, remember, make bad choices, you get bad responses. If you make good choices, if you're sowing good seed, then you get good results and the blessing of God. I've always told people in life, you can work 2 jobs and be blessed. I know people who work 2 full-time jobs. Or you can pray and believe God, and you can work 1 job and maybe get a couple of hours overtime. Or you can really believe God, and you can work 1 job and just tell God, give me extra money. I want to make more money. I want to make $15 an hour. I want to make $20 an hour. I want to make $25 an hour. I want to make $30 an hour. I want to make $40 an hour. Is that possible? Absolutely. Absolutely. It was not too long ago, a while back I was praying. I've actually prayed this for years. I've always worked in really big companies. And I told God, I said, you know what, I'm tired of the politics in companies. And I says, I want to work for a little company that has a lot of work. And I've been at my job now for about almost 5 years. And God reminded me about 2 years ago, he says, remember when you prayed this? Because I was thinking about going to a different company, to a bigger company. And I was thinking, he says, God says, you asked me for this. You asked me to put you at a smaller company that had a lot of work. And now you're thinking about leaving? He said, have you ever missed a day? Have you ever been set back? Have you ever this? Have you ever that? He said, listen, when you asked for this, I gave it to you. And now you take it for granted. He says, mentality is to build something. The horticulture area, what it's talking about, it says, if you'll work the land, you'll have money. In other words, you have to build a mentality. When I go to work, I work for God. Here I'm entering into the blessing of God. In other words, I have to be punctual. I have to be this. Listen to this. If we go into a new area, if you go into a new job, if you go into a new relationship with the same attitude, you're going to get the same results. Let me say that again. If you go to the same job, if you go to the same areas, if you go into a different relationship with the same attitude, you're going to get the same results. It's not the job. It's not the other person. It's you. It's me. If I try to go somewhere else, I'm going to get the same results that I'm getting right here. Why? Because it has nothing to do with the surrounding area. It has to do with me. Most sinners want to say that things come by luck. Earl Watson said, success is just a matter of luck. Ask any failure. Because success is not luck. It's not being at the right place at the right time. It's not knowing the right people. It's knowing Jesus Christ. God brings success. And this is what we're talking about. What do you suppose this mentality will produce in people? Produces things toward God. Let's read this, Judges 6:13. You want to read this?
Yes.
Would you like to read? What's your name?
I'm Robin.
Robin, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was writing. But yes, so
Joshua 6:13.
Joshua's
Gideon. Can you see that part?
Yes.
Because I can.
Gideon said to him, "Oh my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his miracles which our fathers told us about, saying, did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us and delivered us into the hands of the
Midianites.
Midianites."
Here's Gideon. God called Gideon to save him out of the Midianites. Midianites was another tribe. You have to understand, when the tribes of God failed, he would put them under surge, which means they would become servants to another people. So here you have Gideon, and their generation was doing bad. You guys are not old enough. Some of you are. To remember the setback that happened in 8, 9, 10, and 11. The economy fell. So it was especially my field in construction. It went horribly wrong. And so you could come back and you say, God, why are we going through this? I'm paying my tithes. I'm coming to church. I'm being faithful. And why is work not working? Or you can say that to yourself. God, how come the job's not happening, or how come the marriage is not happening, or how come things are not working out right? And we read the Bible and it talks about all your promises. We read the Bible and it talks about all your blessings. But in my life, it's not happening. And that's what Gideon said. He said, "Where's all the miracles that they told us about? Where's all the things the blessings that they told?" And here it is in our life. I've never seen it. I've never seen blessings. I've never seen handfuls on purpose. I've never seen a great thing just happen automatically. It's like everything I get in life, I have to fight for. And he said, how come it just doesn't work? And it's produced a mentality. Because things weren't going right, he had a bad mentality toward God. He automatically said, well, why doesn't God... And you don't have to say, God's cursed my life. But you can say, well, how come my job doesn't work? How come this doesn't happen? How come I'm not blessed like other people? And there's a place for all that. There's actually a place where you can come and say, listen, God, I've done right. I've been obedient. I've asked you and I've been faithful. God, I need you to bring breakthrough. That's what I'm going to preach on Sunday. And God is obligated through his word to bless you, to open doors when you're giving it 100%. If you're putting out 100%, you can come to God and say, God, listen, I'm being faithful. This is why God came to Gideon. Gideon's man, he has a bad mentality about life. He's all bitter inside because things ain't going the way he wants them to. And he's blaming it on, he said, how come he told me about all the great things God has done in life? He said, but in my life, we're poor. I don't like being poor. I was poor my entire life. We lived on food stamps. We lived on welfare. It was just a horrible setting. So when I got married, we got saved. And I says, I will never live in poverty again. I will never. So I gave 100% to everything I've done in life. And God has blessed that. God has blessed us. God has blessed a lot of areas of our life because we put God first. So, you have to imagine, they're talking about horticulture areas, gardening, they're talking about farming. Everything in life that God talks about is a seed. It's a seed. Your life is a seed. We're talking about mentality. Your life is a seed. what you water. Again, they're talking about the farming industry. When you water that seed, what you water it with. My wife is, she's got into this habit, it's pretty cool. She restores furniture, wood furniture. So she gets this old dresser, she takes it apart, she takes the handles off. And I come home today, my eyes are burning, I'm in there, my throat, I'm like, what is that? She goes, man, look at this. She said, I found this remedy, and she says she's boiling vinegar, right? She's boiling vinegar, and she added this stuff to the chemical. And it took some really nasty looking dresser handles. And she's boiling them in a frying pan on the stove. And she's cleaning them with an SOS pad. And let me tell you, they went from ugly, nasty looking handles. They've got to be 40, 50 years old. And let me tell you, they look brand new. And I said, yeah, but can you turn the fan on and just open the door? Because I said, you're going to hurt yourself sitting in this kind of chemical. But she says, look at the results. Don't get caught up in the surroundings. Don't get caught up in what you smell and what you all these breathe. She said, look at the results. You're missing it. Look at the results. This thing is brand new. Stop worrying about your eyes. Stop worrying about it's just vinegar. It's not going to hurt you. I'm over here. Why did I say that? Because I'm complaining about the vinegar. It's burning my eyes. And she said, this is what we do in life sometimes. We complain about what's not happening. We complain. Here I'm crying about the vinegar. Put the fan on, open the doors, get the smell out of the house. And she said, listen, this is why Jesus used farming. He says the results in farming are immediate. They're daily. They're daily. She says, take your eyes off of the smell. It's not going to burn your eyes. You're not going to die. You're going to fall dead right now. She says, look at the results. The result is look at this old beat up dresser handle and look at the one in my hand that I just cleaned. And that's what God is telling the people. He says, listen, stop worrying about what the old is. Stop worrying about the old. Stop worrying about the damaged. Stop worrying about what's not working. Stop worrying about what's not working and look at the results of your life. Are the results of your life what you want? The results that you have today, right now today, January 8th, 2020. What you're living today, is this what you want your life to be? And if it's not, then why is it here? If this is not the results you want in your life today, then why is that happening to you today? Because if you don't fix what you're doing, then January 9th, you're going to live the same life. Am I making sense to anybody?
Yep.
Because if you don't change what you're doing today, tomorrow's going to be exactly the same. Well, how do I change that? Tomorrow morning, you don't hit the snooze button. You build a mentality of greatness. You built a lifestyle of greatness. You built a lifestyle that says, listen, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm here to find my blessing. I'm here to find my place. Let me tell you, nobody was made. You were birthed to fail, but you weren't made to fail. You need to understand that you were born to fail, but you were made to conquer. You know, my pastor always says, you need to understand that. You were born to fail, but you were made to conquer. That's why it says when you sow good seed, you're going to have the goodness, the consequence of the good reaping, plus the blessing of God behind your life. Does that mean anybody got any input they'd like to add? Something that you're doing good in your life? Don't be like me and just talk about the bad stuff. Let me tell you, there's good out there. Come Sunday, I'm going to preach a breakthrough sermon that's going to change your life forever. Let me tell you, I was a messed up person growing up. Messed up. Everything I ever did was horrible. I lived the worst life you could ever imagine. One day I got saved. And I made a change. And I made a change. And that change was never go back in that direction again. I got up and I left my friends. I left my family. I left the whole county. And I says, what happened to me there, I don't need no more. Let me tell you, I had a lot of friends. And I says, if today, if I evaluate my life today, this life right now that I'm living isn't doing nothing for me. So let's go somewhere else. Let's change. Grab the hold of God. Let Jesus Christ take the reins in my life. And let me tell you, he produced a different man. But how he produced that was my mentality. Who says, God, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm in this to find my place. Let me tell you, God, you can be saved. You can come to church. That doesn't equal you to anything. You have a life you have to live. And if you live that life, nobody's perfect. But that doesn't mean you can't strive to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. But that doesn't mean that you can say, well, I'm not perfect, so I just try my best. No. You do your best. You do better than what you did yesterday. You do better than what you did yesterday. You do better than what you did yesterday. And tomorrow, January 9th, you wake up, that alarm goes off, you wake up, you get out of bed, you get ready immediately. And you tell yourself, listen, sleep don't rule my life. Sleep don't rule my life. I'm 52 years old. I go to sleep at 10 o'clock and I wake up at 4:15 every day. Well, you need 10 hours of sleep. I'm not wasting my life to sleep. It's not happening. Saturdays and Sundays, I wake up at 6. I sleep late. Why? Because life matters to me. Life matters. I can do things. If I wake up in the morning, I can do things. If I wake up at 8 o'clock, that means at the end of the week, if I just change my life to wake up at 8 o'clock, then by Monday to Friday, I lost 10 hours of my life. That makes sense? If I wake up 2 hours later, then I lost 10 hours of my life. Times that, times a month, you lost 40 hours of living time. When you get my age, you're going to say, how come I'm 50? Because you wasted your entire life sitting around, laying around, sleeping around. In my mentality, that doesn't work because that's not going to bring blessing to my life. It's not going to help me. The Bible says God quickens us. If God quickens you, you got to be on your step. You got to be ready to move, 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 ready to move. That's life. Let's bow our hearts this morning, this evening. Quickening.